see people still streaming in from lunch, so I'm going to give it a second. I hope everybody had a great lunch. If you did, that's great. So I just want to introduce to you what Kip is. So Kip is a chatbot for group shopping. We focus specifically on groups such as teams on Slack, or families and other friend groups on Facebook. So here's a brief overview. So group shopping is definitely our thing. We launched in January of this year, and we recently crossed north of 1 million in transactions and gross revenue. So it's been really exciting to see how our users have been so enthusiastic about using our group shopping. We are launched on multiple platforms such as Slack, Facebook Messenger, Kik, Skype, and Gmail. We help people facilitate group shopping across platforms. So if your office is on Slack, you can also get your team members through email or Skype and collect it all in one single point. So what we've learned so far from our 1 million+ users and transactions is that people want variety. Variety is king and important in group shopping. Everybody wants to be able to compare prices for similar items. So for instance, if you are buying printer ink, you want to be able to see printer ink from Staples, Office Depot, Amazon, and be able to get the best value for your company. If you're trying to buy for your family, you want the best value for your money. So like, let's say you're buying shampoo or you're buying sofas or other furniture. The other thing is, so based on that, that it's extremely important to create a shopping architecture that allows people and facilitates this form of group shopping by including not only goods, but being able to add other kinds of retailers, including services. So we build an extensible architecture for that. We put a lot of our resources into learning how groups work. We did deep user experience research into groups, everything from focus groups to one-on-one interviews with our users and constant beta testing over a week period. So you do one round of testing, you do paper prototyping, you iterate through that process, and then you repeat it. There's never one good moment to have a launch, so it's best that, you just start with having like different levels of testers. So when one wave of testing is done, you can have the next wave of testing. So through that, we identified multiple types of groups, and each type of group required a different kind of conversational approach. Not all groups are created equal. Different groups have different types of combinations. You can have a parent-child active, you can have a parent-child passive, or you can have peer-to-peer, which is something like DoorDash or Venmo. That's when everybody has the same level of purchasing power. We support all kinds of group relationships and group behavior. So the biggest challenge in selling services that is not the same as goods is that it's very difficult to get consensus before ordering. Services tend to be constrained by time. So, you need to be able to reach a quick decision before you can put the group order through. The second is that you have parallel complexity. So let's say you're ordering group lunch for a team. You have to first decide who are the members who are participating in the group lunch. You have to decide as a group which restaurant you're going to order from. You have to decide as a group what individual items to add on the menu. And you have to decide whether it's within the team's budget to be able to process the option through. And in addition to that, it's also highly inefficient to use chatbots versus websites and apps. For instance, something that would take you 2 steps on a website or app would take you 16 steps through a chatbot. So it's extremely difficult to make a bot more efficient than a website and app through UX. And here we have an example. So who likes to eat Grubhub, and how long do you think it takes? do you think it takes to order Grubhub? So if you look at Grubhub's website, they have delivery information. You can choose between you want delivery or pickup. You can choose the time for when your item is delivered. You can put in your address. You can put in the food that you want. You can put in your orders. And you can put in your previous order with a single click. And then you can view all other previous orders. And if you count the number of steps, it's actually 5 items. So it would take you 15 questions on a chatbot to deliver the same amount of information on a website. And then once you once you get to the next step of the page, you can search the item and you have filtering. So filtering adds a parallel complexity to conversational UI. So for instance, you can filter by cuisine, you can filter by ratings, you can filter by price, relevance, the distance, the delivery estimate, the matches for what you're looking for, and how many reviews and ratings are there per item. To get the same kind of consensus-driven shopping, you would require double the amount or magnitude of labor in order to process this. So we solved it, yay, over summer, and we created a system that we call class cards. So every time Kip learns a new kind of domain expertise, we install a new class card. So previously, we only focused on durable goods such as shopping items like cars, chairs, tables, printer ink, paper, shampoo, durable goods. And then now we expanded it to a new class card called Kip Café. And with Kip Café, now you can order things through group shopping through lunch ordering. So Kip Café is our first step in our consensus engine. It allows for group ordering for team lunch delivery in a smooth and efficient manner that doesn't require 16 steps in order to process a conversation. It's currently we're partnered with top services, starting with delivery.com, expanding outwards to other retailers. We have a patented architecture that helps aggregate these group orders by reversing the sales funnel to make it as quick as possible to recognize intent. So when we launch with it, Kip Café helps groups choose restaurants, collect orders, for food delivery across messaging platforms. And this is a real problem faced by people today. If you think about it, the person who's doing the lunch order is not the CEO, it's not the co-founder. Normally, it's the receptionist or the front office or the office manager. And they have to go around waitressing for each order. So they'll talk to the engineer and ask what do you want to eat? And then they'll have a second conversation saying do you want soup or salad with that? And then they'll have to repeat this conversation across all your team members. The average team of 8 people spends an hour and a half just to collect the orders and put it through checkout. Just ridiculous, why do we have to do this? Why does someone have to go around with a waitressing when their time could be spent doing something else? And that's what we're doing, the consensus engine is for. So in order to facilitate this consensus engine, we invented our own markup language called Kip Messaging Markup Language, or KMML for short. It's cross-platform, it's system agnostic, it's fully extensible, and it helps create standards which everyone can use. At some point, we're going to open source it for other people to adopt into their conversational platform. So whether you're doing a Slack bot or Facebook Messenger bot, you can still use our messaging markup language. Some examples of our messaging markup language are, for instance, we have this idea of persistent home buttons. One of the biggest challenges in conversational UI is that people can't remember the commands that they use, and it's a heavy criticism in bots is that a lot of it is command line. It's typing in terminal, you /help, or you say you need to say things very specifically. So what we've created is a persistent button. Here we have a penguin head, where when you click, it opens a sub-menu that when you hit back on will shut back to the penguin head. And this persists across all messages so that the user is never lost on what to do next. They don't have to remember what to say. Another example that we have for KMML is mode stickers. So a problem in conversation is that it reads like a news feed. You know, it's one single stream of information. And if you're in a large group, or if you're having a large group conversation like Slack, where you have 20, 30 people talking at once on the same channel, it can be difficult to distinguish which part of the conversation you're in or what you're not in. So we created these things called mode stickers. And what happens is that when you go into say settings, or you type settings on Kip, it will bring you to the settings mode, which is just a sticker to indicate that the conversation context has changed. And with these conversation contexts, it provides a framework for the user to know where exactly they are in the conversation flow. Otherwise, it's just one giant string of text where, you know, am I in the middle of shopping? Am I sorting out who my team members are? I don't know where I am. So these become little landmarks in which a person can navigate through different parts of the conversation. And finally, here's our third example for KML, which is what we call conversational forms or conversable forms. They are forms that are built into messaging specifically so that you don't have to create your own polling system, and it's extendable across all platforms. So for example, this is an order for a lunch delivery for a burger. You know, you can choose your toppings, you can choose the type of bread, you can choose meal addition, you can even have special instructions. And when you click on that, you get things like check marks, radio buttons, and a color to indicate that this is the checkout, and a back. We even included an error message system where, like, if the person did not choose the correct options, the bars at the corner would highlight in orange to indicate that these are areas of the form that hasn't been filled up. And these are the areas of the form where, like, you've gone over the maximum number of choices. So you don't have to keep scrolling up and scrolling down to figure out which part of the form you haven't filled and which steps you need to take in order to move to the next part of the conversation. And these are updated real time, so it doesn't pop up as a separate message, but it's actually updated within the message itself. So you don't be like, you're not spammed with like a bunch of messages every time it updates. As part of this, we're participating in a group called the Chatbot Developer Association that is led by Jeff Pulver. So he proposed an industry association in which we can come together with platforms and work together to create standards for styling, CSS enable, disable, hyperlink images. Like, there's a lot more extensions that we need to do for a markup language, and we want other people to participate together with us. It also provides a neutral channel for platforms to come together to reach out to developers and vice versa. Having an industry association means that we have the ability to self-regulate and also talk to platforms as an individual developer and also as a group, so we can decide how we want the chatbot technology to move forward. And and if you want to participate, please reach out to Jeff or Michael, or you can just reach out to us. Oh, yeah, right, Michael, right in the audience there. Hi. Yeah. And one final thing. So, officially, Kip Café as a beta is closed. Okay, we've got our signups, we're done. You know, like, we're ready to roll out soon. But because we like Ben and Talkabot so much, yay, Ben, woo! Yeah. We're offering a special, exclusive private beta just for Talkabot attendees. you have to email us with the subject headline, Talkabot private beta, so that we know that you're from Talkabot, and then we can add you into our next wave of private beta testers. Yeah, and yeah, that's it for now. Thank you.